Have you ever been in a moment where everything depended on a miracle? Where the shame of failure or the weight of expectation pressed down so heavily that only something beyond human strength could turn the situation around? Imagine standing in a crowded wedding, the air filled with laughter and music, only to realize that the one thing expected of you has run out. The wine is gone. The celebration is about to collapse into embarrassment. And in that very moment, a miracle unfolds that will change history forever. This is the story of Jesus' first recorded miracle, when he turned water into wine. A moment not just about a party, but about revealing who he truly is. The scene begins in the small town of Cana, tucked in the hills of Galilee. It's a wedding day. Picture it, the stone streets lined with family and friends, colorful fabrics draped across homes, the sound of laughter spilling out into the open air. The fragrance of bread baking and roasted lamb fills the courtyard. Guests wear their best garments, the bride radiant, the groom proud, and everywhere there is joy. In this culture, weddings were not one-day events. They could last for a week, 7 days of eating, singing, dancing, and celebrating the new couple. Jesus is there, not as a performer, not yet as the miracle worker the world would come to know, but simply as a guest. His mother, Mary, is also there, helping behind the scenes as mothers often do. The disciples, still learning who he truly is, are gathered around him. But then it happens. A quiet whisper moves among the servants. Concern grows on their faces. The wine has run out. Now, to us, this might not seem like such a big deal. But in that culture, running out of wine was a disaster. It wasn't just a drink. It was a symbol of joy, abundance, and blessing. To fail at providing it meant humiliation, shame that could follow the new couple for years. Imagine the tension as the music still plays, but in the background, panic stirs. Servants glance nervously at the host. Guests still laugh, unaware of the looming disaster. Mary notices. She sees the shame about to fall on this family. Quietly, she comes to Jesus and says, "They have no wine." Just 5 words, but heavy with meaning. Now imagine Jesus turning to her, his face calm, his voice steady. "Woman," he says, "why do you involve me? My hour has not yet come." It may sound harsh to us, but it wasn't disrespectful. He was telling her, the time of revealing my glory is in God's hands, not man's. Yet even as he says this, Mary seems to know something. Perhaps it's the memory of the angel's words years ago. Perhaps it's the certainty of a mother who has carried mystery in her heart for decades. She turns to the servants and says with quiet confidence, "Do whatever he tells you." Those words hang in the air. The servants look at Jesus. The disciples lean in, sensing something is about to happen. Nearby stand 6 massive stone water jars. Each is tall enough to reach a man's waist, carved from heavy rock, used for ceremonial washing. They're empty now, waiting. Jesus looks at the servants and gives a simple command. Fill the jars with water. Now, pause here. The servants must have been puzzled. Water? What good is water when wine is needed? But they obey. One by one, they carry buckets, draw water from the well, and pour it in. The sound of water splashing against stone echoes through the courtyard. Sweat forms on their brows as the jars fill, not halfway, but to the brim, as Jesus had instructed. Then another command. Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet. Can you feel the tension? The servant dips a ladle into what he believes is water. He carries it carefully across the room, his hands trembling. The music continues, guests laugh, but for this servant, the world has slowed. He places the cup into the hands of the master of the banquet, the man responsible for the entire feast. The master raises it to his lips. Everyone holds their breath, and then his eyes widen. A smile breaks across his face. He calls the groom over and exclaims, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best until now." The servant's mouth falls open. He knows what he poured was water, but in the cup it is wine. Not just ordinary wine, but rich, fragrant, the finest wine anyone has ever tasted. In that moment, quietly, without spectacle, without thunder from heaven or lightning flashing across the sky, the first miracle of Jesus takes place. Water becomes wine. Shame is turned into honor, emptiness into abundance. And though most of the guests remain unaware, the disciples see it. They whisper to each other, their eyes wide. Something stirs in their hearts. The scripture tells us, "He thus revealed his glory, and his disciples put their faith in him." Now, step back for a moment. Why this miracle? Why not healing the sick, raising the dead, or calming the sea? Why start with wine at a wedding? Because this moment wasn't just about saving a party. It was about revealing a greater truth. Jesus had come not just to meet physical needs, but to transform lives. The water in those jars represented ritual, tradition, human effort. But Jesus turned it into wine, symbol of joy, covenant, and divine blessing. He was showing that he had come to bring something new, something greater, something that human hands alone could never produce. And notice, he didn't do it loudly. No stage, no announcement. Just a quiet act of power, seen only by a few. But those few would carry the memory forever. Think about it. How often do we feel like those empty jars poured out, dry, unable to meet expectations? How often do we feel shame creeping in, fear that we've run out of what we need? In those moments, Jesus steps in. He doesn't always act in the way we expect. Sometimes his answers seem strange, even confusing, like filling water jars when what we need is wine. But if we obey, if we trust him, he takes the ordinary and makes it extraordinary. The lesson is clear. When Jesus is present, lack turns into abundance, shame turns into honor, and emptiness turns into overflowing joy. So now I ask you, if you had been one of the servants that day, would you have obeyed when he said, "Fill the jars with water"? Would you have carried what looked like plain water to the master of the feast? What would you have done in that moment? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful Bible stories, and share this video with someone who needs encouragement today.